Well, what's up, guys? It's the end of the year, so you know what that means. Year end less time, so this year I'm doing my top 35 of the year. I know I usually do like a top 20 or something, but there's a good chunk of albums I haven't seen people on YouTube mention, so I feel like giving them the spotlight. So yeah. And how I'm doing this is 35 through 10 are not going to be ranked. They're going to be in alphabetical order, but the top 10 are going to be ranked, so. If you can hear what they're listening to first, the new Ear of Altor. This just barely didn't make it. It is a good record, but not one of their best records. So that's kind of why I got let off the list, but still a good one though. Alright, so let's do the CDs first. So here's the not quite top 10 stack. I don't want this video to be like an hour, so I'm gonna just kind of not blow through these, but not talk about them for very long. I'll go into more detail about the top 10 though. So first up, 1914 with Erebus Unitus. So this is their third record, I believe. I think Fearing Weapons Meek was the second one, and that was definitely when this band blew up. So they don't sound like them exactly, but kind of. I think of them like Eternus, where they're like a black metal band with death metal production, but there's a little bit of like hypocrisy in both over too, and a little bit of like heavy doom. So if you like that, check it out. 1914, Eubrinus Unitus. Alderon with Paradele Les Crimes. French Viking black metal, I guess, Viking folk black metal. So this is their fifth full length, I believe. If you're a fan of stuff like Bellonos, it definitely has that sound. These guys, I think, are a little bit more epic than they are, but. So there you go. Put that through Paragon Records. I'll try to mention the record label too if I can. Blood Abstention with 2, so I'm assuming this is their second album. I don't remember where these guys are from, but I know this put out through Deborah Moti Productions, who's definitely one of the best labels as far as black metal goes, but yeah. If you know like that label, you definitely know their sound. So awesome kind of atmospheric black metal from I don't remember where, but awesome records. So that is Blood Abstention 2. Cult of Fire, the one who was made of smoke. I don't know if I prefer this or their last record, but all of them are awesome. But I still think their debut is my favorite. Triumvirate or whatever that is. These guys are I want to say Czechian, but it doesn't seem right. Like epic black metal band. This is album number, I think 5, because technically the last album had like 2 parts and they counted it as like 2 separate releases. But so this is album number 5, I guess. But yep, put out through Beyond Eyes. Awesome band. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Cult of Fire at this point. Darkenhold with Les Flammes du Richelieu. So when it comes to the melodic black metal scene from France, these guys I think are one of the most left on bands. Because everyone mentions like Vehemence and Sophonie, but I don't see these guys mentioned as often as those bands, even though they were probably first, because their debut was what, like 2009-ish, but yeah. Put out through the Acteurs de l'Ombre.net. This was kind of a pain to get in the US, but I found somebody on eBay selling a copy of it. I still prefer the first 3 albums, honestly, but this is definitely a great one, but all the albums are awesome. So I'm a big fan of the style of black metal to begin with, so maybe there's that. So, Darkenhold, Les Flammes du Richelieu. I'm sure I butchered that despite taking French for 2 years in high school, but that was a while ago. Alrighty. So this band I didn't think would make the list because the prior 2 records I honestly haven't loved, but this is a good return to form. Der Weg ohne Freiheit with Inuit. So their first 3 I still think is their best era, especially their debut self-titled from 2010. That's honestly one of my favorite black metal records of the 2010 just period, but this one I think is their best since their 3rd album, but I still prefer the first 3 though, so yep. They got a little bit more like expansive sounding in the last couple of albums, so maybe that's why, because their first one was more like riff based. But if you want, I think the best of their more expansive sound. This is definitely my favorite, so there was that. The Vig and the Fryhead, and this is also put through Season of Mist, if I did not mention that yet. Grab with Grimace. So these guys are a Swedish black metal band, I think. They're from Sweden, I believe. I mean, you can basically tell what it looks like, what it sounds like by the album cover, just super awesome. It's atmospheric, but I would say it's a lot more focused on the riffs, because a lot of those bands, they try to focus too much on being like triumphant, but they actually bring the good riffs, so that's important. Put out through Prophecy Productions. Hate Forest, Against All Odds. For me, their best record I think will always be Purity, but this is definitely a good one. They're one of those bands where you basically know what you're gonna get every time, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So just super like punishing kind of death metal vocal fueled black metal. So definitely awesome record. Like I said, Purity I still think is their best, but this is a good one too. So Hate Forest, Against All Odds, put out through Osmos. This may be like an album of the year for some folks. I can see why, but honestly, I didn't spend enough time with it, so maybe if I did, it would grow on me, but since I had a lot to listen to, I guess you can't listen to everything as much as you want to. Havakunu, Tabas Land. I know, this should be album of the year, or at least higher, but it is a great record. If this was like a top 15, it would definitely be in there, but oh well, it didn't quite make the top 10, but still a great record, though my favorite is still their album from 2020. That is easily their best. Yep, definitely one of the best bands from the modern Finnish black metal scene. Put out through Svart Records, if I did not mention that, so there you go. Havakunu, Tabas Land. Another one that would be probably higher on the year-end list for a bunch of folks. Again, I can see why, but for me, this is where it is. Halloween Giants and Monsters. So honestly, this one has grown on me a lot. Like the first couple listens, I thought it was good, but I was driving around doing errands the other day, and honestly, that was the most I've ever liked it. Like the first, like everything up through This Is Tokyo, so the first like 6 songs in a row were all bangers. My favorite's probably number 4, A Little Was a Little Too Much. That's definitely one of the best songs they've done in recent years, at least for me it is, but yep. There you go, Halloween Giants and Monsters. Sorry it's not higher, but oh well. Let's put out the Reigning Phoenix music. So there's that. Here's one I haven't seen people mention, not much. This is Helvinter with Wolves of the Underworld. So these guys are from Norway, I believe. They don't sound like them exactly, but kind of like the Trondheim bands. Like, but I would say they're like less epic, because those bands are kind of like a epic, fast black metal, but these don't have like any of those epicness of like your Horem Rise or anything, but just super awesome, riffy, no bullshit, Norwegian black metal. So that is Helvinter, Wolves of the Underworld. Put out through Dusk Stone. Not familiar with that label, but oh well. Hesperia with Black Medieval Winter Over the Skyline Mountains. So if I have one problem with this record, it's kind of overstays its welcome a little bit. Like, it's a good album, but it's 14 tracks, an hour and 15 minutes long. It doesn't need to be that long, because honestly, by the time you get to like track 9 or 10, you're like, oh, I'm ready for something else. But to compare this to something, Evil Feast I think is the best comparison, but I definitely prefer Evil Feast to these guys anyway, but oh well. Let's put out through Hammerheart, and they're Italian, I think. It's like their 6th or 7th album, and honestly, I haven't heard anything besides this, but oh well, I'll get to the rest eventually, but hopefully the others aren't as like bloated as this one, but anyway. Cool cover art though, it's definitely one of the best artworks of the year. It's so simple, but I always just love that, the guy in the snow. So Hesperia, like I said, put out through Hammerheart Records. Kriegsgrav with Stormcaller. So these guys are it's either Swedish or German. It's one of those countries. Black metal band. They've changed styles a few times. I would say this definitely is where their previous album left off from 2023, which I definitely prefer that one. That was like an arguably like top 5 album of that year, but this one's good, but not quite as good as the previous one. But the last couple, they definitely went for a more like no nonsense, faster approach. But awesome record. So Kriegsgrav Stormcaller. This came out through Willowtip. So there is that. Let's do some death metal. And obviously you could tell by my list, I've been listening to mostly black metal albums from this year for whatever reason. That seemed to be the genre that took over my listening habits. Morbific with Bloom of the Abnormal Flesh. So these guys are a Finnish death metal band, which you can definitely tell that they have that like modern Finnish nastiness to it. Oops. So yeah, definitely one of the better death metal albums. If this was like an only death metal list, this would easily be in the top 10, but I decided to mix all genres together because there's a couple of like not death or black I want to talk about, like the Halloween and one other one I have coming up. But yep, so Morbific, Bloom of the Abnormal Flesh, put out through Memento Mori Records. Here's a band I've never seen anybody mention. Northern Breeze with Shade of Oblivion. So these guys are a Greek black metal band, and you can definitely tell because there's a couple I have in here that are Greek, but you wouldn't know that. The second you put it on, you hear those like melodic kind of epic heavy metal riffs. You know instantly, oh, they're from Greece. You can definitely tell when bands play the traditional style. You know instantly that's the country they're from. So there you go. So if you like stuff like Rotting Christ, Veilthron, check it out. So Northern Breeze, Shade of Oblivion, put out through Hellenic Metal World. Okay then. Don't know that label, but oh well. This again would probably higher for some people, but oh well. This is Phrenelith with Ashen Womb. So definitely one of the early albums from this year. This came out in like late January, early February, I want to say. Featuring members of Hypodontia and I want to say Undergang, but I think the guy from Undergang is no longer involved in this project, but maybe that's just me speaking nonsense. But the second you hear bands in the style, you know where you like can instantly tell they're from this area. But yep, this record featuring members in this band that made my top 10 very high, and you'll see that in a second. So Phrenelith with Ashen Womb, put out through Dark Descent, and I believe Massacre and Uho did the LP like usual. It's like Dark Descent / Massacre and Uho. So there you go. Alright, so this band I'm new to. This is honestly my entry point to them, despite being album number like 8 or 9 for whatever reason. Schwarzen with Vortex of the Destroyer. These guys are a Swedish black metal band, which I've mentioned many times. That's my favorite country for black metal, so I knew this was going to be awesome, but I don't know why it took me this long to check them out, but oh well. So if you like Valkyria, if you know that band, it's another Swedish band. They're definitely in that style too. Put out through Norma Evangelia Diaboli. So I've heard some of their albums before this, but of the few I've heard so far, I think this is definitely the best. But there you go, Schwarzen, Vortex of the Destroyer. This was initially in the top 10, but re-listening to it, it's gone down a little bit. So this would be in like 12 or 11 space. Revocation, New Gods, New Masters. So I know we joke about bands like after the demo they sell out or whatever. These guys are one of the few bands where the early stuff I'm not a huge fan of, and they actually have gotten way better later on. Like, my favorite era of them is definitely, I would say, their last 3 records. So since the Outer Ones, Never Heaven, and then this, I think this is definitely their best album to date. These guys are a, like, technical death metal slash thrash band, but I would argue the last few records they basically just thrash and just went straight technical death metal, which is awesome. Some cool, like, guest features on this too, which one track has Travis Ryan, one has Luke LeMay, so it's awesome. So there you go. Revocation, New Gods No Masters. If this was a top 15 rank, this would be like number 11, so it was very close to being the top 10, but not quite. Put out through Metal Blade. Wintersorg with Van Tancraft Essential Spell. So unfortunately, this is my first album I've ever heard by Wintersorg. I'm not sure why I waited, honestly. Maybe because I'm not the biggest Borknagar fan, so I was kind of like, whatever. But I heard his debut like, on a whim recently, and I thought it was amazing, so I went to this one. I thought this was killer too, so honestly, I like this better than anything he did with Borknagar, which might be a hot take, but oh well. But yeah. So there you go, Wintersorg with something like Butchered, but oh well. And put that through Hammerheart. Rudis with Amating Sparks. These guys are a Swedish black metal band. Kind of like Svartsten, the more aggressive traditional style. Put out through Shadow Records, so again, if you like stuff like Svartsten or Valkyria, definitely awesome, no bullshit, just great, fast, aggressive black metal record from Sweden. I have a couple records to show too, then we'll get into the nitty-gritty top 10. So let's finish off the 35 through 11, shall we? Brainstorm, Plague of Rats. These guys are a German heavy metal slash power metal band, I guess. This was my entry point for them, but I've gone back and listened to a bunch of discography and it's all awesome. But if I'm gonna listen to like power metal adjacent stuff, it's usually gonna be German. That's just, I think they do it the best, but oh well. But I'm a big fan of German metal anyway, so that's not surprising. But even if you're not a fan, this wins Artwork of the Year. That's what drew me in. I mean, that is awesome. So if you don't like the music, you have to admit that artwork is amazing. So yep, good stuff. So not for everybody, but I think it's killer. So Brainstorm, Plague of Rats. So that's a great heavy metal one. Haikiri for the Sky with Scorched Earth. So this style of black metal I'm not really a big fan of, but if they do it correctly, because a lot of like post black metal bands, they forget to, you know, actually be black metal, but they do not. I would argue they're closer to atmospheric black metal than post, but that's just splitting hairs at this point. So it's from Austria, if I did not mention that. My favorite album by them is the third one with like the white cover with like bones and stuff, but this is definitely a good one too. But all of their albums have been awesome, so there you go. Haikiri for the Sky with Scorched Earth. So let's put out through AOP Records. I'm not familiar with that label, but oh well. So there's that. Another one that was in contention for the top 10, but not quite. It would have been top 15. Hooded Menace with Lycomos Monuments of Observation or Observation. So these guys are a Finnish death doom band, and they're probably my favorite Finnish death metal band, which might be weird because they're a newer band, but everything they've done has been awesome. So their last 3 albums since Oshrum's Silhouette and Hollow, they've incorporated more like traditional heavy metal in their sound, which I know it might be hit or miss for some folks. I love it, which though Ossuarian was actually my entry point, so it kind of helps that I've gone along with the ride. So maybe here in this first shoe, but I don't know about that. But if you're like me, you've been along with the ride, it actually makes sense, and the progression is perfect. But yep, great record. Even the cover song that people talked about, but it was an awesome song though. So oh well. I love the logo too. Definitely one of the best artworks of the year too. But there you go, Hooded Menace. Let's put that through Season of Mist. Going to Sweden for this long-standing black metal project. Managarm with Vosoin. I'm sure I butchered that. These guys are definitely one of the best Viking black metal bands. I prefer for me, the Gold Era is still their first 4 albums, but this one was high quality enough I felt like I needed to include it anyway. But their last album, I would argue, was their most like unique sounding, because it had some like a little bit of like melodic death metal and melodic power metal thrown in too. This doesn't really have that. They kind of got rid of most of that elements, but it's sprinkled a little bit, but not as much as the previous record. But anyway, there you go. My favorite album by them is still their second one. Was it Dots Red? Dots something, but the red one, but that's still their best. But this is awesome too. And honestly, if you want to get into this band, this might be a good starting point. But they've never really changed styles all that much, but you can just pick a random one. I think you'll enjoy it. So there you go. Monogon with Edvaresin. I'm sure I butchered that, but oh well. Alrighty, last of the not quite top 10s, but then we'll get into the nitty gritty. Oh, well, this is Ansfat with, oh god, Dimsval. So the band is ONDFODT and then DIMSVALL. So Eisenwald is another one of my favorite black metal labels, but it was kind of a slow year for them. I noticed they only did like 2 or 3 albums, so not sure what the deal was. Maybe there'll be more, so I'm assuming the new Unfurled is probably next year, so that will definitely be pretty high up on the list. But so these guys are from Finland, you could definitely tell. I would say it's like if Cosmic Church was a little bit more aggressive and not as atmospheric, so if you want something in that style. But it is definitely uniquely finished. The second you hear it, you know they are from that country. But awesome album. I'm not sure how much love this will get this year, but hopefully some people don't let me down and mention it. Definitely one of the better albums from the current Finnish black metal scene. So there's Offsnot with Dimsval. Alrighty, so there is your 35 through 11. So let's time to do the top 10. Alrighty, so let's get this party started. So this is what you came for. So top 10. So coming in at number 10, Grimmer with Nightside. So these guys are a atmospheric black metal band from Switzerland, I think. It's either Switzerland, Germany, or Sweden, but watch it be none of those places. But I think it's one of those 3. So this is album number 4, I believe, by these guys. 3 or 4, so it's put out through Napalm Records. I've seen people mention this one in the Heavy Metal OG Discord thing, but I don't think I've seen anybody show it on YouTube yet. I could be wrong, but hopefully it'll get some more promotion. But considering it's on Napalm and they're kind of a weird label nowadays, they put out like most of the kind of cheesy power metal, not much black metal on that label anymore. But don't let the record label deter you away. It's definitely one of the best albums for the year. Definitely one of the standouts for black metal, at least for me it was. So number 10, Grimmer, Nightside. Number 9, this is Tar with Catharsis Till Dawn. So these guys are a Greek black metal band, and if you want that typical sound, you are not going to get that here. This does not sound Greek at all. So if you know that band that's on, I think, Hell's Headbangers, or at least they have their stuff, Lunar Spells, it's definitely in that vein. So it's a lot like rawer and like more kind of Nordic sounding, your typical like Rodney Christ or Verathron. Or if you know the band Dodsford, that's also kind of a good comparison, but they're less like Carpathian Forest, just a scarier sounding than Dodsford is, but awesome record. I've seen a few folks mention this. Hopefully we get more people talking about this one, but yep. So awesome record if you want something outside the normal Greek black metal box. Tara with Catharsis Till Dawn, that through Soul Seller. Alrighty, number 8. I know a few folks have this one album of the year, so don't kill me. It is great. It made the top 10, but I know, whatever. Stan Gilgal with whatever that is. I'm not going to attempt to say that. So obviously these guys are mostly known for being a side project of Mellow Capitan, which I honestly, for me, I still prefer the first 2 Mellow Capitan records to the previous album, or these guys' 2 full-length records, which, I mean, this is awesome too, but like I said, I think Mellow Capitan, for me personally, is still a little bit better, but these guys, compared to them, I would say they're like basically, if you just take all the traditional heavy metal out of Mellow Capitan and make it just straight up black metal, this is what this sounds like. So take away like the epic heavy metal from Mellow Capitan and you get this. But yeah, album number 2 from these guys, put out through Medieval Prophecy Records. So definitely they are a very unique band. You can tell like the second you hear it, you know it's them. So Stan Gilgal with something I'm not going to attempt to pronounce. Great record, but for me, not quite album of the year, but it is top 10, so there you go. Alrighty, number 7. Another band I wasn't familiar with until this year, but somebody in the metal Discord posted this, and the cover caught my eye listening to it. I initially was like blown away despite the style of metal not being my normal wheelhouse. So this is more Percipient and With Darkness Invisible. So these guys are a Finnish melodic death metal band. They don't have the typical Finnish sound. They don't sound like Insomnium or Omnium Gathrum. I would say they're definitely a lot more aggressive because those bands have like a track or 2 in each album where they have some acoustic passages. This one does not. It basically kicks your ass the entire thing. So I would say it's like the more aggressive moments of Dark Tranquility or At the Gates than it's supposed to do Country Mates and Insomnium, but yep. This was a great surprise, and after I discovered this, I went through the entire discography backwards, and every album is awesome, but yep. I don't know where I would rank this one as part of the discography goes, probably top 3, but this was a great find, so I don't remember who posted this album, but thank you. This was definitely my favorite discovery of the year. Most Percipient ends, so if you're not convinced by me, who's not even a big melodic death metal fan, if you are a huge fan of style, you have to hear this. This is definitely the best album in the style this year by far, so check it out. Most Percipient end with Darkness Invisible. 9, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Alrighty, number 6, I had to recount. Dehuman Reign with Dawn of the Malefic Damnation. So unfortunately I've never seen a single person on YouTube talk about this band, which is a goddamn shame. I'm not sure why, but the amount of bands I kind of get, you can't hear everything, but still, I'm surprised this band doesn't get enough attention. By the artwork, you would think it's like on the more technical side, which it definitely looks like it's like cyborg things, but no, it is not. So basically, the way I could describe this is take Sinister, Vader, run it through a Floridian blender, and this is what you get. Though I'm still having trouble pinpointing the vocals. They're like guttural, but in like a really unique way I've never heard before. So if you hear the vocals, you'll definitely be like, I don't know where that came from, but so yep. Awesome band that's unfortunately sadly talked about. So if you can listen to one thing I'm going to be rambling about today, your homework assignment is to listen to Dehuman Reign. So get on that. So there's Dehuman Reign with Dawn of the Malefic Damnation. Put out through FDA Records. And if you're an American, that sounds intriguing. Rotted Life has copies. That's where I got mine. So they have the CD and the vinyl. I don't know about Europeans, but that's where I got mine. So, alrighty, top 5 time. Another band I feel like is sadly underappreciated. This is Graceless with Icons of Ruin. So these guys are a Dutch death metal band, which you can definitely tell they are from the Netherlands. Again, that's a country, the second you hear a death metal band from that part of the world, you know they're Dutch. They have that very unique sound. But to me, it's like Asphyx, like the first couple records mixed with Fourth Crusade era Bull Thrower. And I said that album specifically because that is their doomiest album, which is not Death Doom, but it's definitely, I would say, their slowest one. So that's why, compared to that era Bull Thrower specifically, but it's not like this isn't like a crawling slow record. It's definitely fast parts, but it's definitely, I would say, like Asphyx, like I said, like half death metal, half doom. So definitely one of the better albums from this year. Obviously, this was top 5, but yep. Graceless, Icons of Ruin. Another band, unfortunately, kind of slept on, but oh well. I've seen the people show, but I don't think nearly enough. So there you go. There's about the listenable records too, if I did not mention that. So yep. Graceless, Icons of Ruin, awesome album. Alrighty, so number 4. This is Diabolizer with Murderous Revelations. So of all of the recent albums from Phrenelith, Hyperdontia, and Engulfed, and these guys, this one takes the cake for me. I think it's the best well-written, the best riffs, the best production, the evilest sounding, and honestly, I know we like death metal for the riffs. My favorite part of this album is honestly the vocals. They do the typical, like, very, like, distinctive, like, Hyperdontia style, but then they do this, like evil, like, scream things that you don't really hear those other bands do. So, compared to their, like, band member mates, another good comparison is, like, Immolation of Dead Congregation, but specifically Close to a World Below, because it has a lot of the evilness that the album presented. But yeah, so like I said, when it comes to those band members, definitely this is the highlight in recent times. But yeah, Diabolizer, Murderous Revelation, put through Dark Descent, so I'm assuming Masako and Uho did the LP. But there you go, Diabolizer. Alright, baby, top 3. So the bronze metal and my death metal album of the year, so spoiler, the last 2 with black metal, goes to Rothondus with, oh god. Yeah, I'm not going to attempt to say that because I will butcher it extremely badly, but I think Kellen was the one that reviewed this, so thanks, dude. This was definitely a good find. And this is definitely, I would say, easily the heaviest album of the year. It's tuned, I would say, like, probably A standards, so these guys are from Hungary, and this is album number 2, I believe. Put out through MSUO. It definitely has that sound, but I would say to compare it to anything, it's like a modern take of Ripikolu. It has that same, like, super bass, heavy, just crushing death metal sound with some good doomy parts too, but awesome vocals, killer production, heavy as a truck full of fat people, like Simon likes to say. Yep, awesome record, Thondus. With that, my death metal album of the year for 2025. Alrighty, top 2. So these 2, I've switched back a bunch, but this is where they're landing now. I could change my mind tomorrow, so that's 1 and 2 doesn't necessarily matter. They're just tied, but I had to pick something, so I'm just deciding. This is the order now, so I'll deal with it. So number 2, Silver Metal. This is Gas. Hang on, let me pull out this J card so you can actually see the artwork better. This is Gas Brand with Fading Away into Nothingness. So I don't know why they decided to choose the similar font and logo to the album cover. That's kind of a bad marketing play, guys. That should have been changed, but these guys are a German black metal band, like I said. I mentioned Vic and a Fly High earlier. This honestly reminds me a lot of their self-titled album, which is maybe why this is so high. If I have one slight little nitpick why this was album of the year, every song was great, but I feel like the last couple are only a little bit weaker than the earlier ones, but that's the reason why it's number 2, because every album, my album of the year was like the same quality all throughout. But anyway, great album. I believe this is their debut, if I didn't mention that. So, and it says all rights to Gas Brand, so I'm assuming it's self-released too. See, there you go. Gas Brand fading away into nothingness. Alrighty, drum roll please. My album of the year, 2025. Black Raid 3. So I know this band gets some shit from people. I have no idea why. Maybe because they're popular and people talk shit about popular bands, but it's one guy, but man, I've listened to this record a bunch. Every time I listen to it, I like it more and more. This was easily in the top 5 when I first heard it, but it just kept climbing up the list, so that's why it's album of the year. I mean, I think definitely his best album. This first 2 were good, but he's gotten better and better with every single release, so this impressed the hell out of me. Instantly, I loved it, but yeah, so that is. Okay, I want to just show you this. I know I haven't shown the packaging of all these, but you have to see this gatefold too, so I'll show you this one. So there's that. The back. And I believe this was just a self-release. Awesome gatefold. I love that painting. And then the LP is cool too. So Roger, you might want to close your eyes. This is a double vinyl, if I did not mention that. And they both look the same. I want to say there's an etching on the side. But no, that's not right. I was thinking of something else. So there you go. My album of the year for 2025. Fuck the haters, this project rules. Put away your crappy old Nick records and listen to something actually good. Whew, we did it. So there you go, guys. Hopefully you found something good that's new to enjoy. I have an idea for my next video, but you'll see what it is when I come to it. So thanks for watching. Take care. Looking forward to watching you guys' year-end list too. And if you don't have a channel, just leave your list below and I'll check them out. So thanks for watching. Take care. Peace. Hails.